designing for the future. This is the topic for this meetup because we were running the last 2 weeks an amazing teenager virtual camp, and we want to tell you more about that because the base is the design sprint. Let's say the base for the journey, for the design journey. So I'm really happy also to have some of the teenagers here, and we will also, you can ask a lot of questions. I would like to give you an introduction. So we make a welcome, an introduction, and then I tell you, let's say from my point of view, about the last 2 weeks. And then we will have a panel discussion with teenagers, with facilitators and contributors. And then you can ask a lot of questions to everyone. So you are really invited to please open your videos, so feel connected, and you can also just start talking. And in the end, we will have also breakouts and you can network there. So before we start, I would like to give you some, let's say, networking rules, because this is, the meetup here is all about networking and sharing. And so please be open to talk, so interact with each other. You can interact on the chat and later on also ask us questions. And please open your camera. So it's nice to be just to see each other, I think you know also a lot of people. And we have a mural board which we use for networking. We will record the session and also play that. We will upload that to the YouTube channel where you have a lot of other meetup sessions already. So we record the session. We will have breakout rooms so that you can network and talk. And we have also sometimes Zoom background. So I didn't prepare that yet, but you will have that. So we have a lot of nice Zoom backgrounds especially for the teenagers, and we will put that also, upload that also on the mural board. Okay. I know and I saw that Jeroen, who helped me today, who is the co-host, because I have to go earlier because I have a very important, very amazing session. I don't want to miss, sorry for that, but Jeroen will take that over and he will also share with you the mural board. So I just want to give you some insights. You can put questions there so that it's kept. You can read everything about the speaker today. You can, and I really invite you to share your LinkedIn profiles here. So you have huge space, and we divided that kind of. So you have like people who want to know more about the design sprint, facilitators, if you are interested in sustainable, let's say workshops or just collaboration tools, whatever, just use that and connect to each other. And you can also put every link, whatever you have, you want to share, put that underneath. So I kept everything from the last session, and I think that's amazing collection. So you can just interact here. And I'm always doing a fundraising for these meetup sessions. And here you see a bit of an explanation what is used for. So now I start directly and want to thank you all. Thank you all. I gathered here a nice collage from, let's say, all the pictures. We had a lot of fun and a lot of content. And so I just want to thank you, all of you. And a lot of people are here from the last 2 weeks. And just quickly to introduce myself, I'm Sabrina. I'm organizing this meetup, this design sprint meetup, originally here in Stuttgart, because I'm located here in Stuttgart. I'm running a design agency since more than 25 years. And 3 years ago, I started, let's say, my journey in the agile work world and also with design sprints. And for me, that clicked in the first moment. And so I was looking around and I thought everyone would work with design sprints right now, but I just saw very few people. So I started this meetup, and we did that always on location. But then, yes, since March, we are doing that online. And what is really nice that we are connected now to the whole community. So we can just connect to everyone out there. So, and just from my side, so I'm running design sprints. I'm teaching design sprints. I have also built a masterclass, and I'm also doing a lot of design sprints for good. And with Jeroen together, I'm also doing the talent sprint. Also very interesting concept. I don't want to go too much into that, but if you're interested, just reach out to us. So now the teenagers. So the last 2 weeks, let's say the last 2 weeks, we were running this workshop, but we already worked on that some more weeks. I think it was around 2.5 months or around that, or maybe a bit more than 2 months, which is not a lot of time. And I think if we would have known what effort it is, maybe we wouldn't have started, but it was great that we start because it's so rewarding. And I just want to introduce you shortly to the people that were on board with us. So here you see a lot of amazing teenagers, and we have some of the teenagers here today, especially Soya and Ishan. They will be with us in the panel discussion, so you will get firsthand experience and thoughts and reflections from their side. Then we have a small crowd of facilitators, Alexandra, Eva, Daniel, Finn, and Katja, who did the mindfulness sessions. And a special thank also to Alice, who was behind the scenes helping a lot. She's a teacher and experienced with teenagers, working with teenagers and design sprinting and design thinking with teenagers. And this is our core team, Jeroen, Emmanuel, Gisela, Marcus, and me. So I think we are all here. Maybe you can just wave and just say hello, then everyone see who is that. I think you have also your names under your camera. Okay, and we had also amazing speakers, keynotes, motivators, trust builders. So that was also amazing. And I think this gave all the teams such a lot of motivation and yeah, experience and knowledge. So how that started. So now I shift everything to my perspective. So because I would like to give you a bit of an insight how I framed with the facilitators, with Alice, with everyone who supported me, how I framed, how I came up with, how I tweaked the design sprint. So the design sprint, let's say it's everything I know. So I think it's already a lot, but it's, you know, this is my core. This is where I believe in and what I see that really works. So I use that to build the journey. And how I tweak that, I will just show you. But first of all, we thought about what can we do as a topic. And we came up with the sustainability goals. And so what we choose then was life below water. And we had 2 different approaches for that, so that it's still open for the teenagers, so they can do, let's say, they can still do what they want. So it was one approach was how might we clean up the ocean, and the other approach was how might we reduce plastic. So saving the ocean can be approached from different angles, and that left a lot of space open for the teenagers to design. So the design sprint, I just give you a very quick overview. The design sprint is a, let's say, have 5 phases. And the original design sprint, which you see here. I think a lot of people know already the process or this picture. So you start with understanding the challenge and aligning the team. This is the first part. Then you start creating solutions. So you inspire each other, then you sketch, you get creative, and then you have to decide which concept you want to prototype and take further. Then you decide, and this is also a longer process, and then you start prototyping. So usually in the design sprint, it's one day you prototype something that in the end looks real and gives, let's say, give the user in the end, so in the test phase, the impression this is a product, a service, something that already exists. And then you test that. So what we use that process, and now I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight how I started creating this process. So we had our schedule because we had two time zones. We had a morning group, we had an evening group, and we had to come up with, okay, who is doing what and when is which keynote. So I tried to put in, let's say, all the steps the teenagers have to go through to finally come up with a solution. So what we did. So the map actually was, and we had to tweak the process. So you cannot just work with, use the design sprint as you would work with adults. It's not possible. So I think that was also one of the first things Alice came up with. So, but it was, the first thing was they should familiarize with the topic. And that was already before the keynotes, because they all were new. They didn't know each other. So they started with coming up with visuals. So we did a lot with visuals. So in Mural, you can also pick up icons, you can pick images, you can pick GIFs. So that was nice. And we could use everything. So then asking the experts, we had keynotes, wonderful keynotes about the topic, plastic pollution. So we had also teenager activists. Then they created a cover story just to think about a bit deeper, and in teams already. Then we started giving them into teams, breakout rooms, so they could talk, they could start talking. So it was really different. And with the user journey, I have to admit, this didn't work so well, because usually you should use a user journey with an existing journey. And that was already a bit difficult. So I would say maybe next time we should use something else, but not everything worked perfectly. And what was really nice, that we had a morning and an evening group. So we could already use the morning group, thanks to Eva and Finn. They tested some stuff, and when we saw that something didn't work so well, we just changed that for the evening. And then they had to create solutions. So what I would like to point out was the wild ideas. So they get just, let's say, their problem statement, a challenge, and a wild card, or inspirational card, which was just one thing, like, for example, an e-scooter, or a Trojan horse, or a water dispenser, you know, some stuff which they were, let's say, a bit familiar, or gaming platform, something which they were familiar with. But then you think, okay, these two things doesn't fit together, but really wild ideas came out of that. That was amazing to see. And then we did also crazy eights and solution sketching, but we just squeezed everything. And we tried not to be too formal. And I think you saw already that we didn't made a real focus and decision. That was also a bit difficult, but let's say we left this last decision, how they want to continue working, already a bit, we just postponed that to the solution phase. Okay, and then they presented their concepts themselves. I just did that once, but it didn't work. And usually I don't do that. It's always this anonymous presentation. But here with the teenagers, it was important. They were really proud of their concepts. And the others had to give positive feedback. So that was great to see that, and it worked very well. And then they picked, everyone picked a highlight, and then they rumbled their concept. So everyone had something from themselves, some own ideas in the concept in the end. So that worked very well. And then storyboarding, again, in small groups, they just continued, let's say that then they already started creating. And for creating, we had skill sessions, Adobe XD and Adobe Rush. And so they started on the one hand side with XD and with other tools, and they were so creative, and you just had to let them go. We just did one thing with creating the focus, that we used a very simple matrix, so where they could just put in all their, let's say, their ideas or their assets, what they wanted to do, because they came up with, we do a website, we do an app, we do a social media campaign. So they had a lot of ideas, and they just, there we try to focus them on what you can do until Friday. Then we had also an AI session with Lee Duncan and Herman from IBM. And he told us about the Watson and what is AI, what different kinds of AI there are. So, and the kids asked questions, and you saw that they are really, really interested in that. And then they designed with AI. So they used their ideas, and they came up, how can AI improve these concepts? And they were thinking about data. They were also thinking about what data makes sense then for the concept, what kind of data they need. And then they came up with a concept that was amazing to see. And still they continued. So they did a lot of work. And then in the end, so let's say our test was not a real test, but it was a presentation. So the teams presented their solutions. That was amazing to see how well, how much they did. So what they accomplished, it was crazy to see. And we had as well a motivational session there. And it was, yeah, I get goosebumps again, because that was really, that was so emotional to have this, this motivational speech, and how you could see what kind of impact it gave to the teenagers, and how they opened up as well. So, and then I think the highlight was the feedback. So then they had their own teams, and they gave feedback to each other, and they got feedback, and that was amazing to see. So yeah, and what they get, let's say, what we had also during the 2 weeks before the sessions, it started with, Katja gave them 20 minutes of mindfulness. So it was yoga, it was meditation, it was just mindfulness, journaling, being grateful about talking, let's say finding purpose, finding time for yourself. So that was amazing. And I would like to end with what I want to do, and what I already started to do. So for my classes, for my teaching classes, I want to organize Design Sprint for Good. I think we can do so much. The Design Sprint is just perfect. And I would like to organize these and make the participants, let's say the people that are learning, my students, give them the chance to do a design sprint. So I think here, that's for me, like, that closes this circle. And now I hand over, thanks to all of you, I hand over to Jeroen, and you see here are some numbers, and he will reveal what these numbers mean. Jeroen?
Well, thank you, Sabrina. I think a great opening again of number 28. I think Design Sprint Meetup. I think that in itself, in the last, what is it, 1 year, 1.5 years, it's quite an achievement in itself. So
yeah, nearly 2 years.
So let's look at these numbers, and I think it's not a lottery. let's say some of them you think is these the lottery balls, but we would like to share with you a few of these numbers. So first of all, I think the list that Sabrina showcased to you is that we had 15 participants participating in these events. We had 2 design teams, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And it included in total 15 participants in both combined sessions. So it might not sound a big number, but these 15 teenagers really helped us to deliver what Sabrina just had described as a process. And I think so. And these 15 people, young professionals, you could tell them as well if you look at what they delivered actually, let's say represented more than 10 countries. So from 11 different countries, the kids were coming and the facilitators together. So we had 10, let's say, countries participating in this, this whole event. So I think from a starting point of view, I think it's good to recognize that we wanted to embrace the world and we have been embracing the world with this part. So we had participants from as far as Croatia, you could say, doesn't sound far, but we had Iva, for instance, who's here today as well, based in Hong Kong, and facilitating at distance. We had participants from Uganda. Actually, we have 2 of them actually here now in the call, Susan and Ronsard, 2 teenage participants from Africa who participated from the SOG affiliate over there. We had 36 hours of online time with these teenagers. So we had 8 sessions planned for them and they lasted a bit longer than we thought. But in total, each of them has been at least online for another 18 hours. And because we're 2 teams, 36 hours in total. But they worked on the side. They worked together, online and offline. And we estimate that collectively they invested another 40 hours of online collaboration time. So examples like Soya and Ishan were working together on copywriting for websites that they were going to prepare or Instagram posts. Examples of really efforts that were put over there. We combined this whole event not only as a co-create event, but we wanted to inspire these kids, these teenagers, as much as possible with new perspectives. Perspectives that inspired them around the main theme. Let's say the cleanup of the oceans, which was more a holistic theme that focused on, let's say, plastic pollution and how to deal with that. But also to give them insights in how to deal with future skills. We had in total 14 keynote activities, keynote speeches, organized for these teenagers, in which 16 individual speakers participated. And one of the participants was Lee Duncan from IBM, together with his colleague, but there were many more. People from the world of sports, from the world of plastic pollution research, but also, for instance, people that helped the kids to really onboard in the beginning and build trust together. So coaches on the trust building side, as you saw on the list as well. I think the most inspiring moments was when also the teenagers took the stage themselves, and not only at the end during the what we call the share and celebration, where they really showcased their content that they created in these 2 weeks. But one of the examples was Amy and Ella Meek, let's say, 2 teenage activists that talked about how they fight plastic pollution. And if you see a 15 and a 17-year-old on stage, siblings, by the way, and showcase how already for 2 years in a row they are fighting plastic pollution and inspire, let's say, the 15 participants through an event like that, that's just amazing to see. But they were not alone. I think another brilliant speech was actually by our own Ishan Shan. He's here in the call as well. So Ishan, please wave to the audience, who also, let's say, inspired the audience and the participants with his perspective on fighting modern slavery, for instance, already for more than a year in the way he's doing it. So he can introduce himself with that. So different highlights, different moments, I think collectively shaped the whole event, but from a design sprint perspective, really gave, let's say, the diversity on stage, the diversity of perspectives in the event that really inspired the design journey that Sabrina and others helped to shape for those 2 weeks. So my idea for the next part of the program actually is to have a few of those contributors and participants here on stage and maybe interview them for the next 10-15 minutes and see where else. So we found willing 2 teenagers and 2 facilitators, and Lee when he joins. I haven't seen him online yet, but Lee Duncan as one of the guest speakers would join as well, but we'll find a way how to deal with it. But I first would like to ask them to all introduce themselves. And I know we can have a lot of people on stage, but we selected those 4. So Maybe we can start with the facilitators in this case that really had to turn the design sprint methodology into, let's say, a style of facilitation. But first I would like to have asked them to introduce themselves, who they are, where they're from, and what their normal daily practice is. So Daniel, you are part of the forum today, so maybe you can start introducing yourself in the next maybe 60 seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Jerome. Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Herrera. I'm based in Mexico City, and I have the pleasure to facilitate the evening team alongside my wonderful colleague, Alexandra. What I normally do in the in the everyday when I'm not helping these wonderful initiatives, I do physical product design. I help clients develop new products and services, and I also use the design sprint as the strategy methodology for helping them. And yeah, that's basically my short story. And I hand it over to Alexandra.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, I'm dialing in from Berlin, where I'm working for a software company in pre-sales. And thanks. And yeah, 1 or 2 years ago, I fell in love with design thinking and then design sprinting. And now in facilitating design sprinting for teenagers was definitely a highlight. And yeah, looking forward to tell you more about it.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to our teenagers here on board. I see more than 2, but we have invited Zoya and Ishan here. So maybe Zoya, maybe you can start introducing yourself and then hand it over to Ishan.
Hi, I'm Zoya. I'm 14 years old, here located in the Netherlands, 1 floor above Jeroen. And yeah, I help out with the Teenagers for Change, and I'm very happy to be here.
Ishan, who are you, where you're from, and what's your daily passion?
Hi, I'm Ishan. I'm a 17-year-old student from the UK. And 4 years ago, I founded an anti-slavery and anti-human trafficking organization here in the UK, which acts as a bridge connecting young people to the issue of modern slavery and human trafficking. But I was also a participant during these 2 weeks of this Teenagers for Change event, which was really amazing. So thank you so much for having me.
Okay, welcome here on the panel. Maybe for the audience, it's good to understand that the teenagers that participated actually were in the age range from as young as 14 years old till 19, almost turning 20 years old. So we had a quite big range of, I would say, growing up young adults as such. So I really appreciate to also understand that ratio, age range, we need to cater for as such. But let's maybe start with one of the youngest that was participating, and that was Zoya. Zoya, I know you were part of the whole lineup from the beginning already, but if you think back, let's say, what was for you the reason to participate in this initiative? Can you share maybe a little bit with the audience your perspective on that?
Yeah, of course. So initially, when this idea popped up, I thought that the most inspiring and interesting part about it was letting us teenagers have a chance to take the stage and make a change. I feel like that people really underestimate what teenagers can do and what they're passionate about. To be able to share our passions like this through quite a platform with a lot of other kids our age, older or younger, and together, it's something you'll never experience differently. And it's something where initially you're like, I'm not sure how it's going to go, but once you participate and once you engage with everyone and once you're able to produce something which can actually come real, yeah, that's what's the best about the whole program.
Okay, nice. Ishan, maybe the same question for you. We had a talk already, I think 2 or 3 weeks before the event started, also because of your, let's say, approach towards activism as a teenager, but you said immediately, I want to participate. What was for you the reason to participate?
Yeah, for sure. And I think there were a few reasons, but one of them was definitely that, when you're having a group of young people coming together to solve, such a complex issue, it's really inspiring and really empowering as well. And I think that's one of the reasons, I joined this event, because it's young people having a voice, but also this event was giving us the tools and the expertise to actually implement our visions and our ideas. So it wasn't just something that's hypothetical. We can actually go out into the world now, with the guidance that you have given us over the past 2 weeks and implement those big ideas that we had at the beginning.
Yeah, cool. How many hours did you guys spend online, let's say, in this event? Do you have a feeling? Did you estimate? Did you keep track of it? Zoya's shaking no. Ishana's shaking no. Okay, so that's cool. Okay, let's go to the facilitators here, because I think they had also a reason to join or let's say to participate in that. So almost a little bit similar type of experience to Alexandra, maybe to start. What was for you the reason to participate, and maybe in a nutshell, let's say, how did you experience the whole journey of those 2 weeks?
Okay, so I think it was out of my curiosity that I decided to participate as facilitator. So I was just curious how we could use design sprinting in that context. But to be honest, I didn't really know what I got myself into. So I got so much more out of it than I would have expected. That's the bottom line, actually. And there are actually many things I got out of it. So first, I've met these teenagers. I didn't have any experience. My kids are younger, and I don't know any teenagers. So that was definitely a highlight. And I'm a little bit older, not really old yet, but I'm even more positive about the future, to know that there are these teenagers, or how teenagers can be these days, and how passionate and engaged, and with so much perseverance. Also, I had the evening group, and it was from 7 to 9, at least for the European time, and we had even one participant who was working during the day, and still were there every single day. We didn't lose any of the teenagers. So that was really, really impressive. Also, another highlight was to see how we can use design sprint, the process, and how Sabrina said how we tweaked it, and how we had to sit down every night to actually profit from the other group, which Eva did. So we learned from what the first group did, and then already changed things. So every day we had to do it, and we had great sessions with Sabrina. She was our coach. That was very important. And yeah, the facilitation itself, of course, was a challenge, but was a great challenge. And then the last thing is the topic itself. So it really changed something in my family. Big time, the conversations. My kids were watching one of the keynotes. All of the keynotes were inspiring. So many highlights, and I'm still kind of emotional about it. It was a good time, really, really great time.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Let's go to Mexico, because we were facilitating from as well as Hong Kong as from Mexico, as far as, let's say, here from the European region. So Daniel, let's say, how did you experience it? But first, maybe, what was your reason maybe to volunteer and to participate in this event?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the main reason for me was to practice again with the teenagers, because I have the chance to teach or to do design sprints with college students, and I also have help younger kids to start thinking about creating problem solving. So this gap of interacting with teenagers was a challenge for me, like Alexander said. And for the event, I want to take the same perspective that Ishan and Soya said. I think what most professionals or adults we have when we go out of college, or the first 5-6 years of experience of working, the thing that we want to leverage is what we are proud of, right? So if we are designers, we want to design everything, and if we are developers, we want to develop everything. And when you're a teenager and you're still figuring out everything, or considering a lot of things because you haven't made a really clear choice of what you want to do every day, it gives you a lot of possibilities in your mind to really think outside of the box and really figure out which are the best solutions possible. And since we don't have any agenda and we don't are working with anyone in particular, so that really helps them take the whole view of opportunities, and yeah, that's a wonderful place to start design sprint, I think. So yeah, I think that was the biggest point for me.
Okay, thank you. In the meantime, we have a highly valued contributor also online, Lee Duncan from IBM. Welcome to the show as well, I would almost say, and to the panel. Maybe a similar type of question to you, Lee. When we discussed the possible contribution you could actually deliver to this the event, with your AI perspective, you were actually willing to facilitate almost a full AI sprint or a part of the AI sprint with these teenagers as such. What motivated you, and how did you experience I would almost say the 2 times being on stage with them, because you joined in the first week and almost half a week later again in almost a Shark Tank pitch approach for the kids. So how do you look back at the 2-week contributions?
Yeah, well, I get a lot. I probably get as much out of these sessions as the kids get, to be quite honest. When I see that they are very enthusiastic about applying these practices and to do it in a meaningful way, and I may have said this online already, but it really gives me great hopes, and it makes me very excited about the future of the world, that these kids have such a strong foundation and clear vision on what matters, and have the ability to acquire the skills and be determined and take on these very adult challenges. That is hard. That is not normal. And so this is, I don't know how you were able to find these wonderful kids, but it definitely gives me great hope, makes me excited. And it makes me feel, when I do this, when I help out with these design events, it makes me feel appreciated. So it was an easy choice, and I'm glad to help out any of these kids as they go along. We have numerous programs to ensure young people have resources available to them to get skilled up. We have call for code. We have numerous things where we can apply technology to real world problems. And like I said, I was really excited to see that also there was a high level of follow through. These kids were continuing to work on these problems. They were thinking about it from a very they were looking at the problems from a very sophisticated way. Their lens was complex. They understood the logistics of making these things real. They appreciated the different types of technology, and they collaborated well. It was really great teaming. So that's a long answer, a lot of different components in there. But you know, I get energy from these kids. I'm hoping I was able to provide some view into the world of enterprise technology, and to give them a perspective on what's available to them in the future.
Nice to hear. Nice.
If I may intervene, I would like to add something to that, because behind the scenes, I was giving them support with an IBM badge they could achieve, the design thinking, enterprise design thinking, and AI design. And they are really eager. They are still working on that. And they are also very keen on what is possible. So Lee, you and Herman, you really open up a world for them they didn't know before. And they're really eager to take the next step and really to be, let's say, involved and interested. They are so interested in these topics. So that was, it's amazing to see. Just wanted to give you that, because they're still asking me, and so I'm now gathering, and I will come back to you and give you more insights about that.
I'll be here for sure. Yeah, getting you know, recruiting citizen designers, citizen developers, people that are changing the world. That is amazing. So that's something I want to be a part of.
Okay. Maybe going back to Alexandra, we are, the majority here in the community are design sprint professionals or affiliated to that. So they bring it alive, they facilitate or they participate in it. If you look back at this event and your experience as a facilitator in this case, what differences did you experience, let's say, maybe the 2 highlights, let's say, from maybe more the traditional approach of facilitating design sprint or participate in it like you've done in the GVDS or at your own company?
Okay, good question. One thing I think we all had to get used to is that we didn't take so many decisions, that we didn't make the whole process so streamlined and strict. Like we have to take a decision on the user and we have to make a decision on the sketch. It was more trying to bring things together to make one idea out of two. So that's different, but that's something we can also include in general design sprinting, right? Be more inclusive. That's one thing. And another one, maybe it's coming. It's not right. It's not there right now.
Okay. Daniel, maybe your perspective on that. Maybe you know Alexandra's second point.
For sure.
No, but I can continue on the same line. Yeah, we needed to adapt every day, make small decisions before the sessions because, like we have said already, we didn't know really how to approach this for the teenagers, since we didn't want to make it so heavy and traditional to what we used to do with clients and design sprints. So yeah, this part of trying to understand and adapt, I think it's very natural to the process itself to make it more or fit better depending on the user and the participants. So yeah, I think that part we even make a joke that we felt like our German side is not feeling confident and we want to have something everything planned before we start, but no, that uncertainty, that feeling of we can improvise on the spot and make the things right and still have a great outcome that we did. I think that was the biggest highlight.
Going to Alexandra, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Now it's coming back. The roller coaster. Also to not really be sure what's the outcome. I mean, they always say trust the process, but we treat the process. But somehow it's then also the mindset, and we have the basic in our heads, but still be open. And it's the whole idea of design sprints to change them, right? To make all kinds of marketing, sales, strategy, whatever, branding. And so this is another step. And this is what I love about design sprints in general. We've proved that it works.
Okay. I'll come to the teenagers in a second again, but maybe Lee, your perspective, highly, let's say, experienced in the design sprint field as well, in design thinking field. Did you experience any differences in working with teenagers versus professionals in the office, on process level, maybe on a style of facilitation?
I would say one of the biggest changes is, this is something actually we can teach the adults, is the use of the beginner's mindset. Asking questions, being hyper curious, asking lots of questions, thinking about problems from diverse angles. Don't be so sure that you know the answer. Make sure you explore it. And I would say that's very refreshing, because as you become an adult, unfortunately, you become immersed in a mindset, you become immersed in a craft. And unfortunately, sometimes without us knowing it, we defend that expertise. We too much. But if we just acted with the curiosity and playfulness of a young person, we could find out a lot more, and many times you could uncover these latent needs.
Nice, nice. Going to Zoya, maybe. If you hear this is all process talk and people that are working on design sprints in the profession. You were just participating in it. What was for you, let's say, the highlight during those 2 weeks? What did you enjoy the most? And be honest, whatever it is, what did you enjoy the most?
That's quite a hard question, to be honest. But I think what I enjoyed the most is just to see how everybody worked together and how everyone tried to really reach for their goal in their own way, and how everyone collaborated, and how, even though it's just, like you said, almost 40 hours you're together with those people, you really do feel close to them. And you really do feel like, you know, they're your friends, though you haven't really met them in person. And I feel like just the way you can connect over a project like this over 2 weeks, that a project like this can connect the people is just incredible. And also how you always find something great in a person throughout the whole week. There's always great things in everyone, which really shines through throughout the whole week. And I feel like that's what really made everything even more special.
And for you, Ishan, what was for you, let's say, the most impactful moment or your highlight during those 2 weeks?
For sure, same as Zoya. I think, meeting so many incredible young people from across the world, getting to know them and not confining ourselves to sort of that Zoom call for the 2 hours in the morning, but, connecting with each other throughout the day. Zoya and I, we were calling out supermarkets on social media together at some point during the week, making these connections with young people who are so talented and just so inspiring, who inspire me as well, was definitely the highlight.
Okay. And what are you the most proud of, Ishan, if you think about what you have achieved in that 2 weeks? So it's not only the journey, but let's say if you think about what you have really achieved, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, our team have an awesome sort of concept and sort of business idea, I guess, that we can sort of take further to put pressure on supermarkets to reduce plastic pollution. So we have the foundation ready as a result of this event. And now we can actually go out there and, get supermarkets to change their ways and reduce their plastic footprint.
Cool. Same question for you, Zoya. What are you most proud of in terms of what you have achieved in those 2 weeks?
Well, like Ishan said, as I joined both groups, I kind of have a highlight for each one. I'm just so impressed with how far we've gotten in our first group and how we've managed to even start targeting supermarkets, and how we've also just come up with a concept which could actually work. And for the evening group, how we're also now trying to continue the project without any full event needed for it, how we're actually taking our passion for it and continuing it. And I feel like to see that drive is still there and to see that we're actually wanting to reach for our goal together still is great.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm looking at the clock. We're not ending this yet, but I know that Sabrina needs to leave in 6 minutes, probably the latest. So I just want to ask her, please make me the host for this meeting so that we can continue and not all be kicked out.
Yes,
That's,
no problem.
That's very critical. I would like to give maybe the opportunity to our audience to maybe also ask some questions to either, let's say, the facilitators, Alexandra and Daniel and or Lee. Or maybe even the teenagers here, Ishan and Zoya. So who would like to ask the first question? And I think the most polite way is put your camera on, hold up your hands, and I'll give you the floor. So who wants to start? Nobody? That surprises me. Well, I'm going to put someone on stage then. That's what we do with Tina. Ah, Kala. So there you go. If you raise your hand, you get the stage. So go ahead. What's your question?
I don't actually have a question. I have a comment, and that is that I just want to say that I'm just so impressed at how eloquent and curious and engaged these young people are. I'm blown away. Amazing.
Yeah. Maybe to feature all the young children over here. It's not only Zoya and Ishan that we have here, but we have Ronsard and Susan also online here. Maybe you can quickly put your cameras on so that we can all see you as well. Anna, I think you're there as well. So feel free to also show your face at the moment, because I think it's teenagers that make this event. I see Mark Tippen in kind of a dashboard environment in a room where I don't expect him to be, but that's nice to see as well. So maybe for all of you, good to know Mark's son actually participated as well. And maybe as a parent, Mark, maybe I can give you the stage here. You've seen him maybe change or participate. Do you have a question maybe to the panel over here, or would you like to share something?
Well, two things. One, congratulations. I appreciate actually being included in your early explorations. My son was able to participate in a couple prototype sessions, and that got his curiosity going, and then being able to go through the arc. Coming from Mural, and we're evangelizing, empowering, trying to get people used to working in this way. And what was amazing to me is just to see how quickly these teenagers were able to create community, adopt the tools, as kind of get sorted, and then work through a sprint process. And I know it was effective because of the shift in the conversational topics that happened outside of any of that activity, sitting down at meals and the topics that came up. And the highlights, of course, were, you know, the time he was able to spend with Lee talking about AI, but there were also moments where, you know, he was quoting things like, why do we make things out of plastic that are built to last a lifetime, but you throw away in a moment? I could just see him deeply like inculcating these big questions, and that and the technical skills is something that will last a lifetime. So my only question is, when's the next one? Will you keep doing it? Is there a format where it can be, you know, it can be adopted, open sourced, and allowing communities to really embrace this thing you've done? It's amazing.
I think the 3 questions are also representing the challenge that we're up to now, is how to turn this, let's say, first one into a repetitive model and have more kids and communities benefit from it. Thank you for asking those questions. Who else wants to ask a question? Or there's a question over here. I see Raja over there. Thank you for sharing your hand. So take the stage and feel free to ask your question. I've seen Andrea, you're next.
Awesome. I just have 2 questions. One to the students, a part of which was already answered, but the first part of it was like, I wanted to know exactly from you if you had any expectations prior to the workshop going in, whether some things that you thought, okay, this is what I might be in store for. And one to the facilitators, seeing the scope, I mean, this weighing in how vast the scope was, you had to like manage the content, the tools, and also the time restrictions. Would you mind sharing a couple of anecdotes that come to your mind dealing with these challenging situations and saying that, okay, this seemed very difficult, but we managed to pull this through, something of that sort? That'd be very nice to hear.
Good question. Let's give the facilitator some time to think about that. Chat in the background if you want to align your answers, Daniel and Alexander, but let's go to Ishan. Ishan, did you have any expectations before the event that were met or maybe even not met?
I was just so excited beforehand. You know, the days building up to that Monday, I was just really exhilarated. I was really excited about the journey that we were going to experience together. And I was nervous, sort of, I've never used Mural before, I've never used Slack before. I'm rubbish at technology. You know, AI is a very new concept to me. And so I was nervous about all that stuff. But the way sort of the facilitators and, you know, the speakers who came in, people like Lee, explaining AI to someone who knows nothing about it was really amazing and really encouraging. But I was definitely excited. And yeah, and I can't wait for the next one as well.
Okay. Zoya, any expectations from your side?
I didn't really have specific expectations because, you know, I knew it was a new concept. So I was like, we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty sure, you know, I'll have some fun anyways. I was nervous about like, are kids going to think about like me being there? Are we all going to be just as nervous? I feel like it was more meeting everyone that was a little bit nervous and using new tools. But I feel like if you just know you're going to go into it with a lot of energy, I think that there's no issue at all.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the facilitators and answer that question, I want to thank Sabrina for today's session and organizing it, because she needs to leave for an important meeting. And Lee, thank you as well for being with us. I know it's short term, but appreciate again your presence over here. So thank you.
No problem. My pleasure. I would love to just say one last thing before I drop off. Is I want to say the quote from Steve Jobs, which is, people that are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that often do. And I think you are the ones that are going to do that. So I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks so much, Lee. Thanks to all of you and have fun. So continue and network and have fun. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's go to Daniel. Daniel, do you have a perspective on the question that was being asked just a few moments ago by Raj?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think yeah, the question is very valid. And like we have said already, it's not about worrying too much of the outcome, but rather focusing on the process. And I think Sabrina helped us a lot. And also, like Alexandra said, Eva and Finn help us from the learning from the first session how to make things simple and rather progress on each day and make sure that the ideas were going forward, because at the end what we wanted is to give them or make them proud of what they can achieve working together along two weeks. So yeah, we didn't really focus too much what we can achieve, but rather what we can learn as a team together.
Okay, Alexandra, any anecdotes on having to adjust, adopt, change strategies during the meeting?
Well, I did, because what Daniel said some minutes ago, the German side, I'm German. So it was difficult to let go of that, we want everything well planned and well engineered. And every single day I worried because I also saw the responsibilities toward the teenager to make this fun and engaging. And every single day I worried a little bit less because I saw how it works. And that's a great experience. I think we can also translate to other situations, but this is what I learned, definitely. Also to trust yourself, that it's totally okay to evolve the whole process with the participants. And the participants, your teenagers, you were part of that, because we were reacting to what didn't work out the last day. But it was okay that some things didn't work out. And then some anecdote that had to do with the actual topic is that the practical things are also something that we learn, and we feel the actual problem. When we were looking for pictures for the Instagram post, Zoya, I don't know if you remember, we were looking for a good picture of a farmer's market. It was of all of the other things we did, other topics were more difficult to find pictures for, but actually I would have thought, but the farmer's market was really difficult, because every time we found a picture, we would zoom in and then bam, there was some plastic. Cucumbers in plastic, tomatoes in plastic. So that really made it an experience what the actual problem is. Also maybe with farmers markets, that they're not so great all the time. So making things almost touchable, even though it's virtual, but very practical. I think that's a learning. I would like to also take this into the adults world.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I want to add something else.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously because we in the beginning we wanted to make it as clear as possible, especially for the teenagers. I think we also learned a lot that we were working with very talented young adults, and they were catching up and understanding everything faster than we thought. So yeah, at the end we didn't need to worry too much of how we explain things, but to just go with the flow that we had as a team saying.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Andrea, you're there, you were waiting to ask your question, so take the stage and ask it.
Thanks, Jeroen. I'm thinking about doing something smaller scale next year. And so I was wondering two things really, which is about how you've done something remotely with shorter days. So for the young people, would you have wanted to do this as if it was an in-person sprint over a longer day? And for the facilitators, kind of the same question. If you're a facilitator and you're used to running in-person sprints kind of up until this year, do you think it would have worked so well? Or do you think having the remote facilitation actually made it easier because you have that time away when people can think things through and not feel so pressured to deliver in the room? So I'd be grateful for any tips.
Okay, let me first react myself on that. One of the design principles that we had for this event was it's between breakfast and dinner. So one of the things we really wanted to secure is that kids could participate at a decent time in this event. And of course, with working kids around the world and facilitators around, we had to, let's say, do some concessions in some parts, but the majority of the children started after breakfast and could finish anything of collaboration before lunch, or they started I would actually say in the early evening, just after dinner, and participate with the North American clan just at a decent time. We had to do some concession, but that was the starting point. But the question is, how would you actually experience, let's say, stretching that virtual collaboration over the time? So maybe quickly, for one, Ishan, and maybe one of the facilitators to give perspectives on that. Ishan?
Yeah, I think it varies from young person to young person, but yeah, I would definitely be up for doing it in person as well. You know, for me personally, when I'm surrounded by young people who are, you know, constantly critically thinking and coming up with solutions to some of the greatest issues of our time, it's always inspiring, and that always motivates me and gives me energy. So whether it's online or in person, as long as, you know, you're surrounded by other young people who are looking to make a change, it's great. So thank you.
Alexandra, your perspective?
I always think, why not do both? So I love both. So I would love to meet Zoya and everybody else in person. No question about it. And it would be different and we would have some advantages, but also the virtual definitely has, like somebody said in the beginning, meeting so many people from around the world is an experience itself that you probably don't have in that extent by trying to meet, especially with teenagers, and, you know, just travel cost I'm thinking about. So I would just by naturally do it both. But what you're saying is that if you do it in smaller chops, especially when we're developing the whole thing even more, it is an advantage to sit back and think about it and pivot. And so for here, it was perfect.
Okay. I saw a note from Alice that she wants to comment on that because she has bin coaching the team behind the scenes a lot on that. So maybe you want to say something about it?
I feel like I'm Oz behind the scenes. I'm the Wizard of Oz now. In regards to in-person workshops and design sprints and design thinking, I'm a high school teacher, so I've been doing in-person teaching for a long time. And for me, the challenge was to think how we could do this online. And these kids, Zoya, Ishan, congrats. You guys did an amazing job. Online is a very, it's challenging for us. In person, the experience is much more, how can I say, it's deeper. And it works. It's different, but the result is the same. You feel that change in mindset with the teenagers, the facilitators, they changed a lot too. And you see the impact of the result. The process impacts everyone, if it's online or in person. So that's it. I would like to congratulate everyone, especially the facilitators. You guys did an amazing job. And thank you for letting me be part of it, even from behind the scenes.
Okay, thank you for that. I would like to create time for one more question and then maybe using 15 minutes of networking, which is part of this Design Sprint Meetup concept as well. So I would like to say, is there anybody else from the audience, at least from the ones that maybe were not in the organizing committee, that would like to ask a question to either the teams participating or the facilitators? I'm looking at my screen if anybody is waving to me to take the stage. No? Oh, cool. Well, then, let's say, I actually have a proposal at this moment. Normally, this is networking between professionals only, but I see 4 or 5 kids that have participated in this event, including Susan and Ronsat as well being present over here. So why not do the experiment that Sabrina likes to do a lot in these events? And what we normally do for networking is that we break out in 5 or 6 groups so that we have a group of 4, maybe 3 or 4 people for maybe 10, 12 minutes. And I would suggest that actually the kids stay online. Why not? Ishan and Zoya, Ronsat and Susan stay online and see in what breakout group you pop up and introduce yourself a little bit and share an experience. And my question to you is, if you think about this design sprinting for Gen Z, for the younger generation or with the younger generation, what thoughts come to mind? What, let's say, unique opportunity you have in mind? Try to have a conversation with the 4, maybe 5 of you in the breakout session about that topic. And then let's come back, let's say maybe 7 minutes before the end of this meetup, and maybe share some thoughts from the conversation. So Zoya and Ishan, if you want to stay, please stay. If you think you want to go for dinner or you want to do something else, feel free to go as well, but we'd love to have you in the group. So I would say, let's use these 7 minutes or 12 minutes, 12, 15 minutes for networking, who you are, try to find each other, and let's take it from there. So enjoy. Welcome back, all of you. Let's wait till everybody is back on there. Hey, Eva, you're still there? I thought it was late in Hong Kong, so you were going to...
Well, you put me in such an interesting group, so I couldn't leave, but I was on my way out.
Thanks for that compliment. That was... So let's see whether everybody is changing back. I hope you enjoyed that moment together by Iva. Thanks for being with us. Maybe some feedback from the group sessions. Let's use the last maybe 8 to 10 minutes to share a little bit back in the plenary group. So maybe there's some people that we haven't heard yet tonight. I see Anna Bibic. Maybe you were in a group that maybe opened your eyes or created an interesting perspective. What have you learned today?
Yeah, thank you for switching me in. Hi, I'm Anna Babic from Stuttgart. So I know Sabrina personally, but she has left. I come originally from the classical PM world. I used to work in MAN company, and now I'm like finding myself into the agile world and design thinking, and simultaneously I'm also like a teenager coach, so I'm very, very interested into the topic, and maybe there will be a chance to join in the next time, because I feel the energy and I feel how the teenagers are really really reacting to the idea, and this co-creation, global co-creation, is inspiring.
Okay.
I really love it, and I see like a lot of kind of things rising in the of this kind of clubs, online clubs for teenagers in Russia, which I've facilitated already, and in other countries. So I think it's a very good trend which can be followed up.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Maybe Sashin, what was discussed in your group, or what did you learn in the small networking exercise? And you're still on mute.
Yeah. So Marcus gave me a good feedback regarding the, he have done some framework for Oculus for the game designing, gamification thing. That's a great learning for me. Let me have a look on that kind of classes. It's a kind of next exercise for me to do in the coming days, probably. Thank you, Marcus, for the information.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I'm looking at Florian, who's sitting there with the next generation on his lap. So Florian, what did you learn from today's meetup, and maybe your networking session that you just had?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, that it seems to be very, very interesting. A lot of fun with teenagers. So compared probably to companies, you know, where you have a few people are in there that are not really into it. I think that seems to be a different with teenagers who want to change the world, right? Yeah. And this is what I think is quite awesome about it. And you know, see there, I have a little bit younger generation, and that's why I'm in here, because, you know, I'm thinking about this, how we can change the world for these kids. And I'm quite happy to see that looks like that also this generation hopefully is then able to change the world too. So that's awesome.
Nice to hear, nice to hear. I'm looking at my screen and I was wondering whether there's someone else that wants to share back from the network session that they just had. So feel free to unmute yourself and maybe contribute to the last bit of this design sprint meetup. Anybody? How was it to network with adults, Ishan and Zoya? How did you experience it? You were in the same group, I saw, so that was coincidence. That was not done on purpose. So how did you experience the networking with adults in this group?
It was really nice, and I think that's one of the awesome things of this event in the work. So the social impact work that I do, I have to talk to a lot of adults, and they often see us young people as immature to handle sort of these complex issues. and they sort of dismiss our, they hear our voice, but they dismiss sort of the demands that we want met. And sort of the adults are in this room at the moment, and the adults facilitating this event and organizing this event have that empathy and connect with us, and understand that actually we're not immature. We are mature enough to solve some of the greatest issues of our time, and we have that creativity to do so. And so for that, I am eternally grateful to all of you. So thank you.
Zoya, maybe from your perspective, how did you experience the networking just for the last 20 minutes?
For me, it felt quite different after 2 weeks working with a lot of kids of my age. So just to see kind of the different perspective and the questions they come up with for us are very different. And you have to think about it a little bit more, because I'm used to hearing the kids ask similar questions with similar opinions, and them at that point. But now with a total group of new faces, for me, it was quite nice, actually. Yeah.
Okay. I want to give, looking at the time, I just would like to give also maybe Finn Hempel, who's here in the group as well. He was one of the facilitators as well. And although we didn't invite him for the panel discussion today, but Finn, you work a lot with young adults. I was curious to know about your perspective on the last 2 weeks that you were able to facilitate.
So yeah, I think it was really interesting to connect this style of working together as we do in design sprints or any sort of sprint, but also with such a serious mindset to young teenagers, to people that are still curious. And I said this in my breakout session, but one thing that really amazed me was something that that Alice, she was talking previously in a brief, she sort of said that teens are much more oriented on the process rather than the results. And I think you are really able to see that working with the teenagers. And this is something that we can also take with us, that we can learn from the teenagers, because if you're not just motivated by the results, but motivated by the process, you not only get more curious, and you not only get more maybe the more interesting solutions, but you also make sure that what you're working on really connects to yourself, connects to the group that you're working with, and that ultimately whatever you produce is really your own, is really something that you stand behind. And in terms of creating meaningful solutions, this might be something that we can also work with.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Kojo, Susan, are you still there? Can you maybe switch your camera on? Maybe for the ones that are not aware, Kojo, Susan is based in Uganda, in Kampala, Uganda. One of our partner organizations there arranged that at least 3 people could participate on there. And what we are used to here in the West is having great connections. Everything is working on Mural, but we have to also share some admiration that design sprinting from Africa comes with challenges. And I think those 3 teenagers over there really overcame those challenges by being disconnected in Zoom regularly. Mural wasn't working when they wanted it, but they were always there and they were always connecting. So I would like to give almost Kojo to be the last one on stage today to maybe share one of her experiences. Why did you participate, Susan? And how did you experience actually being part of Teenagers for Change? Maybe you can say something.
Well, thank you all, and it's a great pleasure to be with you here once again. The joining was a bit difficult and challenging, yeah, but thank God we managed to get through. And yeah, I got to meet new teenagers around the world. Some experience I'll not forget. And I hope we keep the connection with them.
Okay, Susan, what's happening today is what's happening during the 2 weeks, and that's okay. You know that you, and there she gone. So this is not to demonstrate what can go wrong if you work with rural life, but this was the reality of Teenagers for Change as well. But I can tell you that the 3 teenagers from Uganda really were highly motivated, always there, and they really fully embraced the opportunity to connect with the teenagers around the world and work with them, like with Zoya and Ishan. I really would like to thank you all being here today and giving the opportunity to celebrate a little bit what we have experienced over the last 2 weeks. I really hope that some of you can experience what we have experienced in the beginning of August as well. Alexandra, thank you for being here today in the panel discussion. Same for Danielle, Zoya and Ishan, and of course Lee Duncan. I want to thank Sabrina, who's not here, for again organizing the Design Sprint Meetup in the middle of the summer with lots of challenges. Let's have you. I want to thank you all for being present here today. And maybe for a change, let's try to end on time, on the dot, 7:30 Central European time. I wish you all a great evening or a great day wherever you are, and look forward to welcoming you again in the near future. So thank you very much and have a great day.